Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Well, again, thank you so much for joining this Boss Up Your Business presentation. I guarantee you that it'll be 60 minutes or less, and you'll have some takeaways that you can apply to your own business by the end. All right, so what are we going to do today? What are our objectives? So our objectives are to learn what it means to implement a business operating system, to introduce the concepts, tools, and disciplines necessary to be successful in generating business operating system momentum, and to answer any questions that you may have and provide actionable next steps for those that are interested. So a little bit about me. My background is I started out in IT, worked with a trucking company actually to start it all off. Then I moved over to ADP to work with automotive financial statements and composite reporting for their 20 group program. I designed systems, worked with teams to develop software that's being used by thousands of automotive dealerships and tens of thousands of auto dealership personnel today still. In 2011, I shifted my focus to the consulting side of it, working specifically with automotive dealership dealer principals, general managers, department managers in 20 group meetings. I was the moderator, facilitator of those 20 groups, worked with hundreds of dealerships across Canada and the United States to improve their business process through accountability and also through best practice sharing and profitability analysis. In 2023, I became aware of business operating systems. Some of my dealerships were implementing them, and I was really curious and interested in understanding, well, why were they starting to have more accountability than some of their 20 group counterparts? So as my journey took me down the path of learning about scaling up and EOS and Pinnacle, I encountered 90 throughout this. And 90 is this world-class software system, cloud-based software available on the internet. That allows a company to structurally keep track of their business operating system, of all the components of their operating system, so that everyone can know where they are, where they're going, and keep pace on their progress. So as I learned about 90, I found out about BOS-UP. And Scott Abbott and team at BOS-UP. I learned a bit about what they're doing, the coaching arm of 90. And I definitely signed up and said, you know what, this fits into what I'm trying to do and work with dealerships and automotive dealerships, but also small to medium-sized businesses outside of the automotive industry to help them grow and scale to meet their goals and achieve their dreams. So why do you need a BOS? Well, starting a business is easy, and running a business is really hard. So we know a lot of times if you're a solo entrepreneur, you're starting off, you're kind of like the image in the upper left, where you're the one-man band or the one-woman band. You play every instrument, you're the sales, you're the marketing, you're the operations, you're the deliverables. You deal with your own finance. Unfortunately, you don't have too much HR to deal with, but you're doing everything. And you've got an idea, you've got a product that you're producing or creating or delivering, and you're probably pretty good at it. And there's a lot to do, but getting it started is pretty easy. How do you grow it becomes more difficult. When do you hire? When do you expand? And then once you do, what are those people doing and what do you give up? And so there's a lot of things there that goes from starting to running, and that running a business efficiently and effectively becomes a lot more difficult. So what a BOS does for us and why we need a BOS is going from that one single performer to more like the conductor in the bottom picture. The conductor is in charge and in control of all of the people in the orchestra. Each of those people in the orchestra have their own playbook. They have their own sheet of music that's going to perform a particular song or a particular melody that fits perfectly in concert with all the other performers. And you, the conductor, you bring certain performers to do certain things at certain times, at certain volumes and certain intensities. And that's what a BOS does for you. A BOS will allow you to orchestrate all of the pieces of your puzzle, running the business efficiently and effectively. So if you think of what a BOS does, it takes you from being a harried individual trying to get everything done, or even in a company where you're the sole CEO of that company, trying to get everything done, willing things to get done without a structure, without a score, without defined roles, a BOS sets up that orchestra-like environment of a conductor and players with a sheet of music and a proper audience that you're going to perform for. That audience being your customers, your employees, and your stakeholders. Business operating system. So here's just what it is, right? A business operating system is the way your company operates on a day-to-day basis. It's a cohesive, it offers cohesive clarity and helps your entire company focus on your vision and your objectives. It helps you to drive growth and success, empowering you to run, build, and scale your company efficiently. So, as business owners, we all have some common aspirations. Some of them are listed here. We want healthy accountability across our team, greater production. Maybe our productivity is so-so. We want it to be better. We want less issues within our employees or within our customers or within our products. We want stronger teamwork. We probably want happy customers. We want to deliver on our expectations. We want consistent sales and profits instead of the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows. And ultimately, it'd be nice to have a little bit of that joy and fulfillment that we started this business for in the first place. But there's some common challenges that affect those aspirations. External challenges like economic uncertainty, challenging markets, competition that comes and goes. Also internal challenges like our employee engagement, succession planning, developing our leaders effectively. There's all kinds of threats, risks, and liabilities that impact our business that keep us from those aspirations we saw on the prior page. So what are the benefits of a business operating system? Well, it helps you to gain insight into your business and help you to optimize your results. It establishes the essential concepts, tools, and disciplines, which we're going to talk about to help you better have a structured vision and a plan for implementation of your business that everyone can be on the same page. And it helps you develop and apply new operational methods that can help you achieve your goals that you initially set out to achieve. So now take a moment to actually think about your business operating system. And I know what you're thinking. I don't have one. I'm here to learn about business operating systems. Well, the truth is, having no system is having a system. It's like making no choice is making a choice. You just chose not to choose. Well, at this point, you just don't know what you don't know. All of our business is operating on a system. And from it's a spectrum. So all the way on the left-hand side, you see the word accidental. And all the way on the right-hand side, you see integrated. These are the 5 levels of a business operating system. And think of an accidental business operating system as one that, you started the business, you had a great idea, you had a great product that you're delivering, and now you got some salespeople, and now you're just kind of grinning and bearing it. That's accidental, right? It wasn't planned. Then intentional. Intentional might mean, well, I know I need a sales team and I know I need someone to take care of my finances. And I think I want to set a forecast and I want to try to achieve it. And that's an intentional. It's disjointed, but you have a plan, right? Then the design. So design is probably where a lot of people that have been sniffing around business operating systems are currently, right? Whether they've, read Scaling Up or they're involved in EOS or they've read Traction or maybe they're a part of Pinnacle or they've started sniffing around 90 and they heard of this BOS-UP, right? And so this is where they've learned something, they've learned a structure, and they've tried to self-implement, right? They've understand certain concepts and they want to implement because it makes sense, right? Structuring a business in a particular fashion so that you have better results makes a lot of sense. So they start to implement it, perhaps without the coach, right? They've got the book, they've got the materials, and they're trying to do it on their own. So it's designed. They're trying to implement a designed operating system. Holistic is when you've taken it to that next step where maybe you've involved yourself with a coach or an implementer, and you're now focused on the system, and you're working on each one. You're really working on your vision, and you're trying to build out your core values. And at that time when that's happening, you might also be working on your people and the organizational structure. But they're individual silos, and they're individual equalizer bars where you're working on one and then you might be working on another, and they're not really intertwined yet. So it's not the full on 100% strong where we want to make everything, right? That's the integrated business operating system. The fifth level of business operating system implementation is where all of the concepts, all of the tools are working in concert and they're intertwined. Your core values are instructing your people. Your organizational chart defines the roles of the people that actually have appropriate scorecards and drives the rocks to hit your goals. And so it all works together. That's your integrated operating system. So rate your own. Where are you on this chart? From an accidental to an integrated. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. There's just the answer, the realistic answer of where you are currently. And then obviously we want to get to that integrated status because that's where true momentum happens. So what a business operating system does, it helps us to get out of that box. So a lot of us were stuck in that blue box. We're in the business, that day-to-day, that grind. We want to get out of the business. We need to jump out of the box so we can go work on the business for a period of time. You can't do it forever. You got to be in the business. You got to keep things moving along, but you have to get out of the box. We have to take some time. And we're going to talk about that in the meetings component. So we understand when do we get out of the business and what do we do when we're out of the business to impact it. So when we go back in, it's making the biggest impact. So you heard me already say concepts, tools, and disciplines. And at BOS-UP, we focus on concepts, tools, and disciplines. Think of the pyramid. The concepts are the foundational level. You're going to hear us talk about the 9 core competencies. That's the main concepts that everything is built upon. They form the base of your business operating system. Then the next level up are your tools. Your tools are your mechanics, your software, your systems that are put in place to be able to impact each of the individual concepts that we learn in the beginning. And then finally, the disciplines, the top of the pyramid. That's what you do on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. The best practices, the leveraging of everything that you've learned to be able to move things forward and continually iterate toward your final goal. So concepts, tools, and disciplines of a world-class business operating system. So let's start with the bottom, that concepts foundational level. And with BOS-UP, we focus on the 9 core competencies. Fortunately, that's built into 90 directly. And the 9 core competencies, as you see here, vision. Your company's vision defines your purpose. It provides a framework of who you are, who you want to be. What is your organization? What is your voice? Then customer. Your customer defines your ideal customer profile. Who are you trying to sell to? Instead of selling to everyone, when you focus down on that one set of customer, that one profile that is the most return for your business and the biggest buck for them, that's going to be a perfect setting for you. Goals. Goals clearly define and document where you're heading. Think of it as the lighthouse. You're out at sea, you want to get to that lighthouse. Your goals are going to define where that lighthouse is. Your people. Your people are your workforce. They are what it takes to get you to that lighthouse, to get you to that goal. And you want to have your people set up in a way that they are the right person in the right seat, which we'll talk about later. Your structure helps you to identify what is the right seat, right? What are the functions that your organization has? Most organizations start with 3 functions. You've got your sales and marketing team, you've got your operations team, and you've got your finance team. 3 main functions. As you grow, you may split out sales and marketing. You may split operations between operations and customer success, so delivery and retention. Then you may have your finance split up into finance and HR, or finance, HR, and IT, depending on how large your organization are. But the bottom line is you have core functions, and each of those functions should have specific roles, and each of those roles should have accountabilities and responsibilities. that when you put a person in that role, they know exactly what they're supposed to do. Data. Data is how we drive our companies. It's crucial in measuring growth, and it's crucial in leveraging and understanding what are our next steps. What changes or iterations do we need to make? So we'll learn about setting up an effective scorecard and leading with leading metrics. Meetings. A lot of people say, I have too many meetings. Well, it's probably right. You probably have too many meetings and they're probably ineffective and they're probably a waste of time. But there is a meeting structure and cycle that is effective. And when done properly, helps you to get out of the box, work on your business so that when you jump back in, you now are supercharged and are focused on what needs to be done. Process. We have to document our process. When process sits in our employee's head or sits in your head, when you hand it to someone else, they don't effectively know what needs to happen. So we need to have documented processes for all of our functions, activities that go on. And we don't have to document 100%. I tell you what, if you document the 20% of the process that gets you 80% of the results, that's a pretty good start. So let's focus on getting something done. Progress over perfection. You're going to see that a little bit later as well. And then finally, exit. All right. Exit is a competency that measures our organization's readiness for a sale or for a leadership change. Maybe it's time for you to have a succession planning in place. And so this is that momentum. When everything is moving in the right level, that's the momentum you need to be able to exit effectively, whether that's in a sale, whether that's in a leadership change, whether that's in a splitting of the organization or an acquiring of something else. So we talked about the concepts or the base level competencies. Well, now we have the tools. So the tools are the components of your business system that are the mechanics in the software. All right. And so let's touch on a couple of them. So within vision, we got to know our compelling why. The compelling why is a focus filter that drives why do we exist? What are we here for? For goals, we start to learn to set rocks. And rocks are the key, most important things that we need to get accomplished. They're the big things. We want to move this big rock. But if we don't focus on it, we're going to get pelted with the daily sand and that daily little pebbles and little activities that have to go, and they will suck all of our time away. And if we don't take a little bit of time, what William Covey would say, working on those rocks, we're not going to get any achievement, and the rocks help us drive toward our goals. And so we work really hard at focusing on rocks. Core values. Core values is really a part of our vision, but the core values helps us to define, do we have the right person? And they can't just be flippant platitudes. Oh yeah, this is we have integrity and we have this. Well, I would hope that you want integrity in your business. Let's have something that's a little more solid. Let's have a core value that is a proper fit for your business and what you're trying to do, the things that you're trying to live out every day. So that when you hire someone, these attract people, the right people for your company. And we already talked a little about that org chart, not just a structured hierarchy of who reports to who, but more like I've already said, what functions do you have in your business? What roles exist within those functions? What accountabilities and responsibilities do each of those roles accountable for? And now you can take your person that is the right person because of the core values. You can put them in a seat, which is this org chart, and you can determine, are they the right person in that seat? We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And then scorecard. All right. The scorecard is the place where you put all those data points that you're going to be looking at on a weekly basis so that you can tell, am I on track? Am I off track? Am I getting better or am I moving away? And if I'm moving away from the target, this is an issue and I need to discuss it. And where I discuss that issue is in the meetings. When I have meetings, I discuss issues. And so our tool that we look at for our meetings component are issues. On our weekly team meetings, we should be spending at least 2/3 of the time focused on addressing issues. Issues are challenges and opportunities where we can get better. And then there's a few other process mastery and ideal customer tools that we can identify each of those particular components. And then finally, not going to talk about it, but the concepts, tools, and then disciplines, those best practices for each of the 9 core competencies. We have an individual discipline that we got to get better at, a best practice that we have to implement so that we can get more and more momentum, become more and more efficient, and so we can scale. And remember what I said earlier, progress over perfection. You don't have to get everything right in the people component before you move on to another, but you need to start. You need to start thinking about core values. You need to start thinking about what are my goals. You need to start setting rocks. Even if you do an awful job at it, start. Set a rock for 90 days. Try and track it. See where you go. 90 days from now, look at it. See how you did. Do better next time. And that's the iterative process. You want to have progress. You've got to start. You will never be effective if you try and focus on perfection. So let's dive into a couple of these just a little bit more. So we've dove into the structure component quite a bit already. So I'll just touch on this a little bit. The functions that your organization has, what are the roles within it? What are the roles, accountabilities, and responsibilities, the RARs that we have in each of these. Now, once you have the responsibility and accountability specific, and I'm a person and I'm placed into that seat, I know what's expected of me. If I don't have that role, if I don't have the accountability and the responsibility set for the role, I don't know what's expected of me. I I may expect someone to do something, but if I haven't delineated it as a responsibility, then how can I hold them accountable to doing it? So this is really, really important to getting your structure set up. And you set your structure up for your organization before you worry about what person goes into those roles. Really important. Figure out your structure for who you are, then make sure you put the right people in those seats. And here's a little people fit check that I can give to you. It's the 4C filter. All right. And it's culture. This is where we've defined our core values. I'd say 3 to 7 core values. You don't need more than that. You don't need 10 to 15 core values. It becomes too difficult to remember. It becomes we're just too many things. 3 to 7 core values. Then you take everyone against those core values. Do they exhibit it or do they not? If they don't, are they really the right person for our organization? Then we have 3 things, the 3 C's that focus on the actual role. Are they competent? Do they have the ability to get the work done? Do they have the commitment? Do they even want to do this job? They may do, like, sometimes there's things that I do really well, but I don't want to do them. All right. And if I'm placed in a role where I can do it really well, I have the competency, but I don't want to do it, how long do you think I'm going to be effective in that role? Probably not very long. And then finally, the capacity. Do they have the mental, physical, emotional, and time span capacity to get that job done? So we have culture that we want to balance. Do we have the right person for organization? And then competency, commitment, and capacity. Those 3 components are an analysis of the role. Are they in the right role? Are they the right person, culture, in the right seat, competency, commitment, and capacity? You can't do this fit check if you don't have your values set and you don't have your org chart set up with the appropriate roles and responsibilities and accountabilities. You do this once a quarter with all of your people, including your leadership team, including yourself in the role that you're performing in, and you determine, have I become someone that's not the right fit for my company anymore? Am I a culture misfit? And if that's the case, do I just need some correction? Or is it really that the company has gone a different direction, or if I've gone a different direction than where the company was initially? And at that point, I may need to separate ways. If I'm not a fit for the role, is there another role that I would be a better fit for because of my commitment or because of my competency or because of my capacity? Every quarter, you should analyze all your people against these 4 C's. When you do that, you're going to constantly make sure that you're iterating to the right place instead of stagnating in the wrong place. Goals. We talked a lot about rocks, and I really love William Covey's presentation. If you look it up on YouTube, basically it has this woman come up on the stage, and he says, "All right," he gives her this jar full of sand, and he says, "All right, put these rocks in there." And these rocks are like, vacation and all these different things that are big things that she wants to do, and have kids and have a family, and trying to put the rocks in and shove them down. It's just not fitting. And he gives her another blank jar, and the only way to make it work is when you put the rocks in the jar first, and then the pebbles, and then you pour the sand in over the top of the jar that has already had the time to absorb these large items, these large ticket items. And the concept is you need to focus on doing the big things on a daily, weekly, monthly basis so that at the end of those 90 days, the end of the quarter, you will have gotten something done and hopefully accomplished and completed that rock. Because oftentimes, if you don't, there's no way to fit it in. You get all of your time gets sucked up with the day-to-day emails and fires that you're trying to put out that you never get time to focus on the big things. And then 90 days later, you haven't done anything on what you deemed was the most important thing for you to do. So the progress of rocks is determine what the most important things you need to do are, which should be tied to your goals, which are 1 and 3 and 10-year plans that are going to get you to that lighthouse of where you want to be. If you're doing that and you're staying on top of it and you make them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, then you've got this momentum and progress to get toward your end goal, your crazy and audacious goal. Data, key performance indicators. We heard this term, KPIs, KPIs. Listen, you got to make sure that you're chasing the right things. You're putting the emphasis on the proper syllable, as my band director used to say. Stop looking at lagging indicators on the weekly basis. You want to look at leading indicators. You don't want to say, what was my profit? You want to know how many customers did I talk to this week? Am I hitting my goal of how many customers I talked to? What was my closing ratio on my leads this week? Because if that starts to slip, there's no way you're going to get the right closing ratio, the right number of deals, and the right number of sales are going to lead you to that net profit at the end of the month. You want to focus on leading indicators, okay? And there should be 3 to 5 key measurables for every single function in your organization. And every person should have a number. Every person should have at least one number that they're solely responsible for. Not 2 people responsible for one number. One person is responsible for that one number. Vision, again, this is just another way of who are you? What do you want to be? Your core values? What dream are you trying to achieve as your business? Who are your ideal customers? It really sets up all of these things that drive the where am I going and how am I going to get there? Now, this is the part that I want you to understand and is meetings, okay? If you leave here with nothing else out of this seminar, it's have better meetings, okay? So I want to focus on 3 types of meetings. We have a weekly team meeting. You should have it weekly. That's why it's called a weekly team meeting. They used to say, what's the most asked question at Disney? It's what time is the 3 o'clock parade? Well, it's probably at 3 o'clock. So your weekly team meetings have to be held weekly. It can't be every other week. They can't be occasionally. It has to be the same day, same time, every single week. It should be 90 minutes. This is for your leadership team. All right. You're going to address, some employee high points, some customer highlights. You're going to address how are you performing on your data, your scorecard, and your rocks. Are you on track? Are you off track? And then ultimately, this all reserves down to resolving issues. The biggest part of this meeting is going to be working through opportunities and issues that you have ranked from highest priority to lowest priority. And you're going to do the same thing every week. And these are going to drive to-dos that are going to be things that are tracked throughout the week. And then the next meeting you come back, did you do it? You want to make sure your to-dos are done. If you structure your meetings properly and you have effective meetings working on your business for 90 minutes a week as a leadership team, you are going to see incredible progress. Quarterly team meetings. Now, your quarterly team meetings, this is where you get offsite, 1 full day, once a quarter. And you and your leadership team, you're going to review the prior quarter. You're going to review the rocks. Did you achieve what you set out to do? You're going to review your data scorecard. Is it still the right metrics? You're going to look at your goals for the next quarter, set new rocks that are aligned with where you want to be in that 1 and 3 year period to what are the most important things. And then the rest of that meeting, you're going to resolve key issues, some long-term issues that maybe were held off. You're going to bring them forward and work on them. You do that for the next 3 quarters until you get to the annual review, your annual planning meeting. This is in many cases, a 2-day offsite, and where you're going to work on team health, team building, leading. You're going to review your company vision. Now you're going to say, do I have what's next year 1-year plan? What's next year's 5-year picture? And what do I look at? What's my crazy audacious goal? Has that changed? And you make sure that you continually focus on where is that lighthouse? Did it stay? Did it move slightly so that we're charging and tracking toward where we need to be? You're going to set new rocks for that next quarter, and you're going to work through issues as a team. You have this structure of meetings, you are going to have incredibly effective meetings. You're going to have less meetings because issues that come up during the week, if they don't need to be solved immediately, they get put onto the issues list and they wait for the weekly team meeting. And if they're a high enough priority, they'll get resolved in that meeting. You build a structure and cadence, and 90 can help you do this. We have a weekly team meeting, quarterly review, and an annual team meeting. You will be incredibly thankful and your business will move forward. One last thing on weekly team meetings, they should be the same day, at the same time, have the same agenda. They always start on time, always end on time, and they always get rated. Everyone in the meeting needs to rate the meeting. And if it 1 to 10, if it gets less than a 10, and less than an 8 rather, you want to know why. Why was it less than an 8? So that next time we can make sure we do better, so that we get this meeting better and better, more and more efficient, leading us to where we need to be. You can see how all of these core competencies, these 9 core competencies, get you out of the blue box, get you out of the company to work on the business. You do that in these meetings. You're working on the business. Then you can jump back in for the rest of the week and make things happen in an efficient manner. Now, 90 is a world-class cloud-based operating system that helps you to keep track of all these things. It will keep track of your data, your scorecard. It'll keep track of the rocks for all of the individuals and all of the functions in your organization. It allows you to set to-dos so that you can keep track of those to make sure they get to done. It allows you to have all of your meetings built in. It has the agendas based already for the meetings. You can tweak it, you can change it, you can go with the base, which I do. It's how I run my meetings. You set notifications and announcements for the week. You can do your one-on-ones with your people, your quarterly one-on-ones through this system. You build in your org chart. You set up your vision. What are my goals? What are my long-term, midterm, and short-term goals? And then you can define where you're taking your company. This operating system is an amazing tool and at a really affordable price for you and your company. So what does that mean? What kind of support? Implementing a BOS on your own, it can be overwhelming. Here's a few things to start with your journey. First of all, choose the right BOS. You got to choose what you believe is going to work for you. All right, 90 is a comprehensive cloud-based BOS. It has more than 200,000 users and 45 companies. I live by it. My companies that I work with on this use 90. We trust it. It's effective. Second, take a BOS workshop. Okay, we've just gone through a crash course on what a BOS is all about, and now what you may want to do is you may want to do a full 1 day, or if you say no, this is definitely I need to jump in, I need to do this, then I'd recommend going to that next step, and that next step is utilizing a BOS-UP coach like myself to do a builder program and a scaler program. And that's where in a builder program over a course of 3 months, we'll have 3 separate sessions, full day sessions offsite with your company, where we're going to set up the foundation. We're going to talk about your organizational structure. We're going to talk about your rocks. We're going to talk about your data and your scorecard and help set those things up. On the second session, we're going to work on your vision. We're going to work on what are your core values? What is your compelling why? Who are your ideal customer profile? And work through all of those things of a vision. And then finally, 90 days later, so 45 days later, and then now 90 days later, we're going to have our goal setting session where now we're truly going to set what is our compelling and audacious goal? What is our 5-year plan? What does our 3-year goal look like? 1-year plan? So that now all of our rocks are really focused on those items. And then you start getting into the scalar program if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to continue it with a coach, you go into the scalar program. And the scalar program includes 2 more quarterlies and an annual planning meeting. And now over the course of 10 to 13 months, you've fully implemented the level setting of your business operating system. And you may or may not be ready to go fly on your own at that point. If you want more time, you can have your coach longer. It's really up to you. But you will have been given all of those tools and disciplines and coaching that you need, the good solid underpinning of moving your company in the right direction. Well, again, I really appreciate you being here for this session. Next steps, if you want additional information about implementing 90, or you do want to implement, you want to understand about, okay, well, what does this look like for coaching? There's my information on the screen. You got my website at core924.com. You've got my email address, john@core924.com, or my phone number, 202-365-2054. Again, I really appreciate you being here. Hopefully you've taken something you said, yeah, that makes sense. I really need to structure. Structure sets me free. It doesn't limit me. And hopefully that's what you learn from this. Progress over perfection. Get out of your business and work on your business. And again, thank you for your time today. Look forward to hearing from you.